Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Chris. I'm an alcoholic. It's fun to be here tonight. This is the third week. I got to mention something. My buddy Marty is on. Marty and I did a workshop very similar to what we're doing over the course of these 5 weeks down in New Jersey on the chapter Working with Others. How long ago was that, Marty? That was back when, huh? Quite a while ago. Anyway, this isn't the first time we've tried to do this. Now, what we've been doing up to this point is we've gotten to page 93. We've talked a lot about the early experience of the people in Alcoholics Anonymous, how they approached, how they found people to work with, how they came to the conclusion that it's necessary for your own sobriety to work with other people. They passed on some information in how to find alcoholics to work with, and then they started to give us some information on how to prepare ourselves to get in front of the alcoholic. There's a ton of great information in here, and I've said this will probably be the third time I've said it. It's in this day and age of Alcoholics Anonymous, so many of us. Our experience working with others is people meet us in Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. That's really the fertile ground upon which we find people to work with. But in the early days, you really had to go out there and look for alcoholics. And I would say that coming out of this COVID epidemic and all the damage that's been done to the population base in the fellowship. There's room for us to do this work now. There really is room for us to go out and beat the bush and try to find the still sick and suffering alcoholic and do the things that they ask us to do. Talk to doctors, talk to ministers, go to the hatch, find out where alcoholics end up. And we can put a lot of this stuff into practice. Statistically, there's been an enormous amount of opiate overdoses, right? Over 100,000 a year. That pales in comparison to deaths due to alcohol abuse. All right, the alcohol abuse numbers, it's really, really hard even to aggregate them all, but it's certainly from 150,000 to 300,000 people die every year because of misuse of alcohol, and there's room for us. There's work for us to do out there. So that being said, I'm going to start where I left off, and it's about halfway down page 93. Now understand we're still going to be 3 more pages on the first visit. I really want to emphasize that there is an enormous amount of information we're expected to transmit to the potential prospect. And these pages go over what we're supposed to tell them. And just in a nutshell, we're supposed to share with them what the problem is. What is alcoholism? As it's defined in the book, or as it's described in the book Alcoholics Anonymous, what is alcoholism? And the solution. We're not supposed to beat around the bush about what the solution is. And there's not one place in here where it says take somebody to a meeting. I want to be clear about that. They don't want us to do that. They want us to be one-on-one with the person, and get through this information with them and hopefully get a commitment out of them that they're going to be willing, to go to any lengths. They're going to be willing to do anything to overcome alcoholism. And there'll be a time for meetings. There'll be a time to take them to meetings, but that's not what they're asking us to do here. So I want to be clear on that. So anyway, it says your prospect may belong to a religious denomination. His religious education and training may be far superior to yours. In that case, he's going to wonder how you can add anything to what he already knows. But he will be curious to learn why his own convictions have not worked and why yours seem to work so well. So the book of James in the Bible was one of the main inspirational readings in early AA. Both the New York group and the Akron group, before the big book was written, would read spiritual passages out of the Bible and some other books, to get the meeting going, kind of like we do a literature-based meeting. And the book of James was used quite often because in the book of James, it makes very, very clear that faith without works is dead. So now, this goes against a lot of religion. When Martin Luther read the book of James, he was not very happy with it because his whole perspective was you are saved by grace through faith. Okay, and here's this book that's saying that's all well and fine, but faith without works is dead. And the early alcoholics understood that too. You can have faith in God out the wazoo, but if you don't take some action, if you don't do some of the behavior modificational spiritual exercises that they ask us to do, you're going to be the drunkest, person of faith around. So, because faith without works is dead. And that was one of Dr. Bob's favorite sayings. So, I kind of went on a tangent there, but that really has a lot to do with what we're saying here. We're going to be talking to people who know more about religion than us, who've been better church members than us, who are deacons and priests and all kinds of stuff, right? And, here's Chris, the bad electrician, talking spirituality to the priest. What's going on here? What do you have? Where's the missing piece? And the missing piece, of course, is in the steps. If you have faith without steps, you're drunk. So anyway, it says he made an example of the truth that faith alone is insufficient. To be vital, faith must be accompanied by self-sacrifice and unselfish constructive action. Now, over and over again in this book, it demands for us to change the way we've been behaving. And how we've been behaving, if we're really alcoholic, is selfishly and self-centered, wrapped around an enormous amount of self-consciousness. Okay. Now, this book again and again asks us to place the welfare of others ahead of our own. So we need to be out there on the street, giving of our time so that others may recover. And it says here that the faith that we're going to have needs to be accompanied by self-sacrifice. I'll tell you, the happiest people I know in Alcoholics Anonymous, and there's a bunch of you on this meeting right now that I know very well, and you've got great qualities of life. Self-sacrifice is in your second nature. You're putting together ginormous parties where you're inviting all the recovery people. You're starting sober hockey leagues. You know what I mean? And your quality of life is out the roof. But there's a service ethic. There's a compassionate ethic. There's a charitable ethic that backs up all that. And when we're called on to be of service and to help, we don't even think about it. We may not even like it, but it's our second nature to go ahead and do it. And that's a huge shift. That's a monumental shift in how the alcoholic has been, comporting themselves thusly. You know what I mean? Like it was always all about me. Everything was about, what do you mean, Marty? What do you mean you help somebody move? Like, who you want me to help move? Bill who? I don't even know. But you want me to help Bill? I don't even know him. Like that. That's the alcoholic. They can't understand why they would do anything without some kind of proportionality to benefit to themselves. And so this is an enormous change. And over again, this book says, our lives are going to depend on this. It's going to depend on this change that we have in a service ethic. So unselfish, constructive action. Let him see that you are not there to instruct him in religion. Admit that he probably knows more about it than you do, but call his attention to the fact that however deep his faith and knowledge, he could not have applied it or he would not drink. So we get released from alcohol by the power of the divine. Okay, that's what this whole process is about. This whole process is fitting ourselves and placing ourselves in the environment where the sunlight of the Spirit can do for us what we cannot do for ourselves. That's the whole point in this. And I know a lot of church people. Hell, I married somebody, and I'll never mention the denomination because it wouldn't be fair, but they were Catholic, and the parents were like unbelievable, like Nazi Catholics, like going to mass every single day, but they never did anything for anybody. You know what I mean? And they hated me. And meanwhile, I'm out there, I'm dragging alcoholics to detox, and all Saturday I'm taking people through the steps, and they're looking at me like I'm some kind of weirdo, because a guy in a dunce cap wearing a dress doesn't throw water on me every day. You know what I mean? Not that I judge. But anyway, perhaps your story will help him see where he has failed to practice the very precepts he knows so well. So listen, spiritual truth is spiritual truth. We're taught, I'm telling you, we were taught in kindergarten what we need to know. You know what I mean? Don't steal, don't hit people, tell the truth, don't bear false witness, I mean, we're taught all this stuff in kindergarten, and it's like the alcoholic uses that stuff optionally, where it will benefit. So we know spiritual truth. Somewhere deep inside us is the concept of God, is the experience of God, is the intuitive aspect of our spirit, right? Deep within us. So show the person how, you know better, but you didn't do better, right? We've got a process. We've got a process in the steps where, we help you do better. So we represent no particular faith or denomination. We're dealing only with general principles common to most denominations. And remember, when this book was written, they're just exiting from the Oxford Group, which was a very Christian organization. So they do talk a lot in here about religion. And if you're a student, or if you've paid close attention to the 12 steps and 12 traditions, there's a ton of Catholicism in the 12 steps, and it's not, that doesn't mean that they're aligning with a particular religion. It doesn't mean that they're endorsing a particular religion. What they're doing is they're pulling spiritual traditions and practices that have been around a gazillion years. They're pulling them forward, explaining to us and letting us know how important it is for us to work these spiritual principles, because faith without work is drunk. Faith without work is drunk. All right. Now we're on the first visit. Okay, we're on the first visit. This poor son of a bitch, is sitting there stinking like whiskey. Somebody said, "Hey, we want you to talk to Chris." He's from the A&As, and you're on the first visit. This is what it tells us to do: outline the program of action, explaining how you made a self-appraisal. Explain the 4-step and what the 4-step is to the person on the first visit, how you straightened out your past, talk about the amends that you've made, okay, and the experience that you got, and the freedom and the power that's entered your life because of those amends, and why you're now endeavoring to be helpful to him, what our 12-step is. Carry this message. It is important for him to realize that your attempt to pass this on to him plays a vital role in your own recovery. So again, we go back to one of the first lessons Bill Wilson ever learned, was he stayed sober when he was trying to help other people get sober. He stayed sober when he was trying to help other people get sober. You know, I think that was the first lesson he learned, and you know, because he couldn't understand why these people weren't getting sober. And his wife goes, "Bill, you're staying sober." You know, actually, he may be helping you more than you're helping him, and in many cases, that's true. Now I've done a lot of 12-step calls. I've done a lot of wet drunk work. I've done a lot of this stuff over the years, and I'm unattached to the outcome. I'm firmly attached to the process of what my responsibility is, but I'm unattached to the outcome. I cannot tell you how many people I sat with. I went through the first visit with them. I left them a copy of this book and I never saw them again, you know, for a while. And then they show up in Alcoholics Anonymous. So a seed can be planted. And it, you know, we don't get a toaster for bringing a certain amount of people into Alcoholics Anonymous. You know what I mean? There's no membership drive here. What there is there's responsibility, my responsibility for carrying this message. Whether the person is ready to respond to it, whether he responds to it, and whether he's willing to do what needs to be done, it depends on him and God. It really does not depend on me. I think it's an illusion for me to think I can help you. I really do. You know, I can point in the direction that there's help. I can explain, you know, the path that I took where it was help. But I can't do the work for you. You know, I can't do the work for you. So make it plain that he's under no obligation to you, that you hope only that he will try to help other alcoholics when he escapes his own difficulties. Now, this is a lesson my first sponsor told me. I was unbelievably grateful for all the time and the effort, you know, and the phone calls and helping me with meetings and getting me through my issues, you know, in the early days. And I remember one time saying, Phil, I don't know how I'm ever gonna, you know, make this up to you. You know, you've been so great with me. And he goes, you're not supposed to. I go, what do you mean? He goes, what I've done for you, you're gonna do for somebody else. That's how you pay it back. That's the expression of your gratitude. You know, I don't want anything, you know, and I was dumbfounded by that. Suggest how important it is that he place the welfare of other people ahead of his own. Here again, this is revolutionary. You're going to need to place the welfare of others ahead of your own. What would that look like in this context? It would look like when the phone rings and somebody needs help, you're going. Okay, I don't care if it's the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Your primary purpose, your primary responsibility is to carry this message to other alcoholics. That's what assures that we are participating in the maintenance of our spiritual condition, whereby continuing to be in the environment where the sunlight of the spirit can do for us what we cannot do for ourselves, if that makes any sense at all. All right, so make it clear that he is not under pressure, that he needn't see you again if he doesn't want to. You should not be offended if he wants to call it off, for he's helped you more than you've helped him. If your talk has been sane, quiet, and full of human understanding, you perhaps made a friend. So I love how he gives descriptions of what our attitude should be while we're on this first visit. And he says we should be sane, we should be quiet, and we should be full of human understanding. The longer I'm sober, the more compassionate I am for the still sick and suffering alcoholic. I used to get mad, you know, I'd be in a meeting and some newcomer would come in and they'd be blowharding all over the meeting, you know what I mean? And taking the meeting hostage with a bunch of crap. And I'd get all, I am compassionate today because now I can, you know, I see what we're up against with some of these new people who come in. I see what we're up against. You know, we're up against alcoholism, cunning, baffling, powerful. without help, it is too much for them. And I'm going to get mad at them, because they took 7 minutes sharing about, their girlfriend leaving them or something. No, I, I you know, I am way more cool with that stuff today than I used to be, because more and more I see this as an illness. I see this as an illness. It's an illness of powerlessness. You know what I mean? Nothing could bring up more sympathy in me than truly seeing that this is an illness of powerlessness. How can I be mad? So it says, maybe you have disturbed him about the question of alcoholism. And that's one of my jobs out there. I try to disturb people about their alcoholism, because you can get half measured right out of the rooms today. I mean, you can show up in meetings and get half measured right out of the room. Kid, you don't need to be doing the steps. I didn't do the steps till I had about 5 years, So I think anybody that does the steps before 5 years is full of crap. I mean, I've heard everything. Right? I've heard everything out there that is just unbelievable. Just because Clem was able to stay sober for 7 years without doing any step work does not mean that the guy walking through the door can stay sober for 10 minutes without step work. You know what I mean? It all depends on the scale, how far down the scale somebody's gone. So, so disturbing somebody about their alcoholism, I think, is good, because if you disturb me, you get me to think. When I'll speak somewhere and 100 people shake my hand, tell me what a great share it was, and one person will go, I don't agree. I don't agree with anything you share. And what's going to disturb me all the way home is that person who didn't agree. I'm not going to be thinking about the 99 people who liked my talk. I'm thinking about the person who had a problem with it. So it's in our nature to get disturbed, when we're confronted, when our ego is confronted with information that makes it look bad, and that gets us to think. And I don't think that's necessarily bad, because you can come to terms with maybe the gravity of your situation. You can come to terms with maybe the importance of this step work. You know what I mean? I can't tell you how many people have gone through AA, never really done any step work, in and out, in and out, in and out. Finally, AA doesn't work. And so I'm one of the people that try to disturb those people. No, I'm sorry, you never did AA. AA is a 12-step fellowship, 12-step program. If you haven't done the steps, you haven't done AA, and that's disturbing in certain rooms. But what can happen is they may be pissed off for a day, a week, a month, but in the back of their mind, it's going to haunt them. It's going to haunt them. What if that guy's right? What if I'm not staying sober because I'm not doing the steps? So if I disturb somebody in that way, I think it's all to the good, unless they have a gun. All right. The more hopeless he feels, the better. He will be more likely to follow your suggestions. Now, earlier on in this book, it said 15 ways from Sunday. Wait until the end of a bender. Don't talk to a person when they're drunk. Wait until they emerge remorseful from a spree with a firm resolution never to do it again. You know what I mean? Because you want to grab somebody where there's some willingness to do something that goes against their nature. All of this recovery stuff goes against our nature. The 12 steps are not something I was just about to do, before I showed up in AA. You know what I mean? They go against my toxic, selfish, self-centered nature. So you're going to need to have some willingness to move forward with that stuff. All right, it says your candidate may give reasons why he need not follow all of the program. Pay the money back? Marty, if you would have told me when I was drinking, I'd have to pay the money back. I wouldn't have stole all that money. uh, he may rebel at the thought of a drastic house cleaning. Admit my faults. I've been told never to admit anything, even when they got you on video. Which requires discussion with other people. That's uncomfortable to me. I'm sorry, but all that is very, very uncomfortable to me. I'm not sure that's going to be necessary in my case. And I don't really see where that applies. How does that have anything to do with not drinking? So your candidate may rebel at some of that stuff, okay? Do not contradict such views. Tell him you once felt as he does, but you doubt whether you would have made much progress had you not taken action. Okay. Listen, I felt just the way you're feeling right now. I thought, I got to be honest with you, I thought whole thing was stupid. But I was at the end of my rope, man. I didn't have any other plans, and for one reason or another, I got a sponsor who helped me go through this stuff, and it created a release from alcohol and an extraordinary life for me today. And I'm here right now sharing that with you. So what do you got to lose? On your first visit, tell him about the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. If he shows interest, lend him your copy of this book. So tell him about the Fellowship Alcoholics Anonymous. Don't bring him to the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. We don't need him yet. You know what I mean? So tell him about the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. Lend him your copy of this book. Now, why? Why would you lend him a copy of the book? Now, listen, I understand that some people just, they're so shattered, they can't comprehend. It's going to be difficult for them to read the book. There's been many people that I read the book with them. But what he's trying to let us know here is we want the person who's going to come to AA to know what AA is, to be at least marginally familiar with the basic text, Alcoholics Anonymous. And then when you ask the person, are they willing to go to any lengths, you're offering them the dignity of understanding what any lengths is going to look like. If you've read this book and you're willing to start on this path, I got to tell you, the people that get that far, you got a good shot with. Not only do you have a good shot with them, they're going to be good AAs. They're going to recover from alcoholism, and they're going to make you look good. They're not going to drink on you and make you look bad, most likely. Unless your friend wants to talk further about himself, do not wear out your welcome. Give him a chance to think it over. If you do stay, let him steer the conversation in any direction he likes. Sometimes a new man is anxious to proceed at once. You may be tempted to let him do so. This is sometimes a mistake. If he has trouble later, he's likely to say you rushed him. Let him read the book first, okay, before or help him go through some of the main points of this text before they get started. That's really what he's saying here. You will be most successful with alcoholics if you do not exhibit any passion for or crusade for reform. Never talk down to an alcoholic from any moral or spiritual hilltop. Simply lay out the kit of spiritual tools for his inspection. So this is what I did. This is what I did. And the transformation was unbelievable. I am now a recovered alcoholic. I've had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. So show him how they worked with you. Explain some of the good stuff, okay? Talk about some of the really good things in your life, because the alcoholic coming in here doesn't usually have a lot going on. It's usually one heartbreak after another, one debacle after another, one jackpot after another. Start to talk about some of the cool things that are going on in your life. After you've convinced him you drank like he did, you did the things he did, you were powerless like he was. Now talk about, what life is like now. it's going to be attractive. It's at the very least, the person's going to want to know what you did to get to where you are. Offer him friendship and fellowship. Tell him that if he wants to get well, you will do anything to help. If he's not interested in your solution, if he expects you to act only as a banker for his financial difficulties or a nurse for his sprees, or a coach for his drama, you may have to drop him until he changes his mind. This he may do after he gets hurt some more. Hey, this is a controversial paragraph. It's basically saying if someone is unwilling to go through the steps with you, you are to drop them. Okay? You know, have I always lived by this rule? You know, I have some flexibility. I understand alcoholism, and I understand the ego, and I understand toxic self-centeredness. And you know, I'm not going to be cut and dried like that. But I'll tell you what, if you continue to balk and dodge and weave the instructions I'm giving you after you've agreed, you know, to work with me, if you continue to dodge and weave and delay and cancel, you know, my attention span to you is going to move on to someone else. You know what I mean? So a lot of these people let themselves go. You know what I mean? As their enthusiastic participation wanes, you know, I've moved on. They move on. You know what I mean? Maybe they'll come back, whatever. But you know, I'm not. You know, I give one exit interview. You know, basically letting somebody know that they're really falling short on the program of recovery, and it's probably not going to end well. And if that doesn't take, you know, I'm not going to, and when you go out there drinking, I'm not going to run out there after you. Maybe you need to get that done. You know what I mean? Maybe you need that. It says in here, you might need the experience of another drug to fully convince you of these steps of this recovery process. I just, you know, my philosophy today is based on this chapter much more than it was based on my experience in Alcoholics Anonymous over the last 30 years, because things just are different in the rooms. You know what I mean? You just see so many different ways of staying sober and helping other people. I fall back on this chapter as a default, and it's mainly because I don't want to waste a lot of time anymore. I don't want to give up a Saturday, you know, every Saturday for like 6 months with somebody who's unwilling to do the step work, and then they drink on me, and I want all those Saturdays back. You know what I mean? So anyway, that's just me. If he is sincerely interested and wants to see you again, ask him to read this book in the interval. After doing that, he must decide for himself whether he wants to go on. So, you've read the book? You want to keep going? You want to keep going? You read how it works and into action. You want to keep going? All right, I'm with you. He should not be pushed or prodded by you, his wife, or his friends. If he's to find God, the desire must come from within. So what generates the enthusiasm? What generates the desire within us to go after this work? I truly think it's the grace of God. I think we can place ourselves in the environment, but I give God more credit today than I gave him last year for stuff. And I gave him more credit last year than I did the year before. I think we need to leave room in here for God. And you know, I'm telling you, when I was ready, I screamed out to God, God, help me, either kill me or let me get sober. You know, from the depths of my soul, I cried out. Now, does everybody have to get to that point? No, but I'll tell you what, I'm grateful I did. I'm grateful I did, because it you know, the desire was to survive, and the desire was to change, and it was deep, deep within me. And I think that was part of the grace of God. If he thinks he can do the job in some other way, you know, if he wants to become a mummer, or do the primal scream therapy goat yoga, let him go. Hey, here's my phone number. If hooking up with the goat yoga people doesn't work, you can call me anytime, when we'll get started on this. You know what I mean? When you're ready to get started on this. If you prefer some other spiritual approach, encourage him to follow his own conscience. We have no monopoly on God. We don't even have a monopoly on getting sober or getting clean or treatment for alcoholism or treatment for drug addiction. We have a way that we can honestly agree amongst ourselves has worked for us. There's going to be people who cannot or will not give themselves to this simple program. They are not at fault. Maybe there's something out there that will work for them. We have a way out upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. You want to come with us, this is what we do. But point out that we alcoholics have much in common, and you would like in any case to be friendly. Let it go at that. So I'm going to do one more paragraph, and then I'll finish up for the night. So is everybody that we're going to use this kind of an approach with going to work with us? No, not even close, right? But I need to tell you that the people that are still in my life, decade after decade after decade, the people who are in my fellowship of the Spirit, the people I'm connected with and I have deep friendships with, are the people that did this work. The people who did not do this work, but called me a sponsor and ran around doing whatever the hell they wanted to do, very few of them are still around. Okay, very few of them are still around. Maybe some of them are so sober. Maybe some of them weren't even alcoholic. Who the hell even knows? But the people who are part of my fellowship of the Spirit are the people who've done this work. And you can tell the lights are on with them. They're in the fellowship of the Spirit. They have an awakened spirit. They're recovered alcoholics, and we're trudging the road to happy destiny together. You know what I mean? And if 1 out of 20 is all I get, when I'm working with these people, but 1 out of 20 goes through this work, I'll take that 1 out of 20. I'd rather be messing with that 1 out of 20 than with the 19 other half measure people. Let them go to the rooms. Let them make coffee. Let them do GSR. Let them do all that stuff. Because there's a ton of stuff to do in Alcoholics Anonymous. But my personal one-on-one, time, sitting knee to knee with you, I want to spend it with the people who go through these steps. And I've learned that, over the course of time. So do not be discouraged if your prospect does not respond at once. Search out another alcoholic and try again. That's basically what this is telling us. You're not really cool with the inventory and the fifth step. You don't really see the need to make any amends or pray and meditate. All right, I'm moving on. I'm gonna continue to search for someone who's gonna be willing to do that stuff. You're sure to find someone desperate enough to accept with eagerness what you offer. We find it a waste of time to keep chasing a man who cannot or will not work with you. We find it a waste of time to keep chasing a man who cannot or will not work through the steps with you. All right. If you leave such a person alone, he may soon become convinced that he cannot recover by himself. That's right. Leave room for experience in God. Don't be a control freak with these people. Don't try to overmanage this stuff. You know what I mean? We have a way out upon which we can agree. And if you're willing to move through this stuff, I'll do anything I possibly can to help. But I'm not gonna counsel you in your divorce. I'm not gonna help you with the IRS. Unless I'm with Marty, I'm not even gonna help you move. You know what I mean? Like this is the work that I'm supposed to do here. To spend too much time on any one situation is to deny some other alcoholic an opportunity to live and be happy. What is this saying? This is saying that my time as a recovered alcoholic is valuable. I'm not supposed to waste it. I'm not supposed to waste it on people who cannot or will not work with me. I'm not supposed to waste it on the Half Measure Club. Now, please do not misunderstand me. Uh, Alcoholics Anonymous has one requirement for membership, and that's the desire to stop drinking. You're welcome in whatever meeting. It doesn't matter what kind of willingness you have. I don't police anybody's step adherence. I don't critique anybody's sponsorship style. I none of that stuff. I try to follow this chapter in the book, but does that mean I do anything at all to discourage the person from experiencing the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous? No. I'm not going to drive them to a meeting, but listen, some of us get struck with alcoholism while we're in the AA meetings. Some of us have been in the AA meetings a long time before we're struck with the illness, alcoholism, and it dawns on us we're in more trouble than we think we are. And my voice is not the voice that's going to get through to everybody. There's many people out there doing this stuff, many different people to work with. So I need to let go of the results of any of this stuff and concentrate on what my responsibility is, and always be friendly and never talk down to and never shame anybody. God, we come in here with so much shame. I don't think it's the sponsor's job to shame us. We come in pre-shamed. You know what I mean? And just try to be helpful, quiet, sane, and helpful. One of our fellowship failed entirely with his first half dozen prospects. And, I always tell my guys when they start to work with other people, you kill the first 6 people you work with anyway, just get through it, get that part over with. He often says that if he had continued to work on them, he might have deprived many others who have since recovered of their chance. All right, that is the end of the first visit. When we start up next week, we're going to be talking about the second visit. And that's what I got to share with everybody tonight. I want to leave a bunch of time for sharing. There's some of my friends on here, and I'm sure it'll be great to hear everybody. So thank you.